Ladies and gentlemen, I'm deeply honored to welcome you today to this session of Delphi Economic Forum on re-architecting work models for the future. Today, we'll have the great opportunity to listen to the insight and perspective of 4 distinguished speakers. As we all know, the world of work dealing with the previous economic crisis was now also deeply traumatized by the pandemic crisis. So what all need is a fresh vision, clever tools, and of course, renewed policies. Without further ado, as we used to say, please let me introduce you to our speakers. Of course, we have with us Mr. Ezat Azem, who is the General Manager of Roche, Mr. Christos Misailidis, the CEO of IWG PLC, of course, Mr. Georgios Petsis, the Managing Director of DPort Services, Greece, and of course, Mr. Spiros Protopsaltis, the Governor of OAED. We will see Ezat in a while, as he will be connected with us. First thing first, gentlemen, when you all hear about the re-architecting of work models, what comes in your mind? And let me start with Mr. Protopsaltis, the Governor of OAED. If we have Mr. Ezat Azem, please inform us. Spiros.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for the invitation. These are exciting times. These are challenging times, but they're also exciting times. And there's no doubt that in the context of the 4th Industrial Revolution, we are seeing rapid changes occurring in the workplace. And there's a need for a constant upskilling and reskilling of the labor force in order to be able to respond and meet the challenges of today and tomorrow. The classical model of I go to school, I go to university, I get a job, and then I never step into a classroom again until the end of my career is no longer viable, is no longer a reality. The fact is that we constantly have to learn new things, we constantly have to adapt, and we constantly have to make ourselves open to new information, new skills, new qualifications. So within this context, there's 2 areas that stand out clearly. I would say it's digital transformation and green transformation. Those 2 areas definitely are going to be of the utmost importance in the coming years. And that is why the European Union in the Recovery and Resilience Facility has made specifically those 2 areas an emphasis both for the reforms and the investments. As a public employment service, OAED is ready to tackle these challenges and respond to the needs of the labor market. During the past year, we have engaged in a series of very significant partnerships with global technology giants, if I may, such as Google, Coursera, Cisco, and Amazon, to engage in quick but effective reskilling and upskilling programs for the unemployed. Just yesterday, the applications opened for a new partnership with Cisco, where unemployed youth, primarily youth, are going to be trained in cybersecurity, a very high demand area. We did a similar program with Google in digital marketing. We are now doing another program with Google with career certificates in high demand areas. And so what this experience tells us is that we need to focus on what the labor market is asking, not what we think the labor market needs, but what actually the labor market needs. Come closer and listen to the employers, listen to exactly what it is that they're looking for, Small parenthesis, in a country like Greece with a high unemployment rate at 16%, 1/3 of employers respond having difficulty finding the right people for open vacancies. So here's the oxymoron. You have 16% unemployment rate, and at the same time, companies telling you they have difficulty finding the right people with the right skills for the right jobs. This skills mismatch is a huge issue that we need to tackle in this country. In the European Skills Index, we are dead last in Europe when it comes to skills matching. And so what this government is doing is it's investing a significant amount of resources in the skilling and upskilling of the labor force. Over 1 billion euros have been included in the nation's plan, in the proposal for the Recovery and Resilience Facility. And we are very optimistic that that's going to be approved. And so we're going to be investing in the skilling aspect, but not repeat what has happened in the past, which many times was ineffective. Instead, we are coupling the investments with a significant and comprehensive reform of the actual workforce development system in Greece. So you have training programs that are high quality, are effective, are going to be evaluated, are going to meet specific and very high bars of entry and maintenance on the registry of eligible training providers. And so we are coupling investments and reforms together to make sure that in the next few years, the Greek labor force is going to lift its skills level to be able to meet the challenges of tomorrow. I'm very hopeful and optimistic that we're going to be successful, and the partnerships that I just mentioned are a very good indication that through cooperation, collaboration with the private sector, we can really make a breakthrough.
Thank you, Mr. Governor. We'll come back to you. Mr. Misailidis, Christos, we know that things have changed tremendously, and of course, the workspace is a material to work on with a completely new perspective, something that your company knows very well.
Let me start by saying that the lesson that we all learned from the pandemic is the fact that we were not ready for it. So we're lacking the whole world was lacking flexibility. So we end up with huge problems, all the companies end up with huge problems on adjusting their operating expenses with the revenues. And this is crazy because we have the technology globally to be able to be more flexible on the way of working, on how we are working, or from where we are working, but we're not ready for that. So obviously, one of the things that will be affected is the workplace. The workplace will never be the same, we all know it. We'll see a lot of hybrid systems, working from home, working remotely, working from other countries for other countries, working from flexible workspaces like the ones that we are offering. So for sure, the major impact on the way of working will be on the workplaces because it was the most inelastic costs the companies needed to tackle within the pandemic.
Okay, so we'll come back to that as well. I have many things to ask you, but let's go to Mr. Petsis. Georgios, you are dealing with more than 2,500 employees and workers, a very strong workforce. How do you deal with all this over there at DPort?
First of all, thank you for the invitation. It's an honor to be with us with such distinguished guests here. For us, we are the smallest kid in the block in a way that we haven't been around for more than a decade, while IWC and Roche has been there for so many decades. But even though we are such a young company, we've managed to not to re-architect, to architect from scratch what we need to do. If you take into account that Port of Piraeus used to handle around 500,000, and I won't go into numbers into detail, in the past used to handle 500,000 containers with around 1,000 employees 10 years ago. And nowadays we're handling 5 million containers with double the number of employees. You can do the math and you could see that the productivity of the employees went up 5 times. So this thing, for this to happen, I was so glad to hear all those comments from the governor. It is so good having people having the urge to learn more, to do more. Of course, technology helps a lot. For us at the Port of Piraeus, we're a company that operates 24/7, 365 days a year. So for us, it's like trying to fix your car while it's moving. So it is tough, but all those people working at the port are, I could say, are in love with the port. So great things are ahead of us.
That's very important. So I will come to you as well, as you realize. If we have Ezat Azem with us, maybe we can hear him. Okay, you will let me know. Mr. Governor, let's go to you again, Spiros. We know that we have a very ambitious young workforce, but also an older workforce who are trying to remain in the labor market to develop, but without the relevant skills. I think now I'm holding a pen and a notebook, and as you said before, there used to be a time when these were enough together with the high school diploma and a language, a foreign language. Today, things are very different, but these people have started their career with such skills. So what are we doing about them?
Unfortunately, in Greece, traditionally, the education and training system has not been connected with the needs of the economy. We overproduce in areas that there's not a lot of demand, and we underproduce in areas where there is a lot of demand. Thus, you have unmet demand, which is the problem of the skills mismatch. So one of the things that we definitely need to tackle, looking into the future and with the emphasis on the youth, is primarily reforming our vocational education system. So a lot of youth understand that there are many options in life that you can follow. It's not only the university. If you do follow the university, that's great, and we need to connect the universities with the economy as well. But there are other things that you can do in high demand areas that do not require a college degree. And so we need to restructure, revamp, reform the whole apprenticeship and vocational and education system. That is also part of the proposal of the country's proposal for the Recovery and Resilience Facility, and significant steps have already been made in that area. On the challenge of reskilling and upskilling older workers, definitely it's a big, big challenge for the economy and for the democracy. I mean, digital illiteracy today means that you cannot fully participate as a citizen in our democracy and society. So even setting aside the economic aspect, just the fact, like think about it, GovGR and the central gateway that we have for all of the government services, if you don't know how to handle technology, you can't access those services. So digital illiteracy is something that is definitely a big priority for us to tackle. So we need basic digital skills for all those who are digitally illiterate. We need advanced digital skills for those who want to go after the open jobs that are in the market and want to have better job prospects and career prospects. And at the same time, do it in a way that actually has an impact. Because let's be honest, simply having the resources without the plan means that you're not going to have optimal outcomes. You need to have a reform plan. And that is what our Minister of Labor, Kostis Hatzidakis, has announced is going to be introduced in the Parliament as a new legal initiative, as a new regulatory and legal initiative this summer in order to reform continuing education and the workforce development system in Greece, so we can build the workforce development system, because currently we don't have definitely one that is adequate. And at the same time, we need to couple the training with work experience. So what we did with Google is...
Excuse me, just for a moment to say good morning to Ezat, because we have him with us. Good morning, Ezat. We are coming to you. Excuse me, Mr. Governor.
Very quickly and simply say that following the training, it's important to get the opportunity for work experience in order to use and apply those skills in the workplace. So with Google, we did digital marketing training, and then we subsidized 100% 6 months work experience in companies, so you can actually apply those skills. The model that uses training together with subsidized employment to provide a seamless delivery of services to the unemployed, I think is going to be key.
Thank you very much. So before going to you, Christos, let's get the first comment from Mr. Ezat Azem. Ezat, the first question was actually, what are you thinking when you hear the term re-architecting the work models with regard to the future?
Good, thank you very much, and I hope you hear me now.
Yes, we do, of course.
You know, we see that technologies still need to be evolved in many places. That's the reason I was not able to connect. Good morning, and pleasure to be with you all this morning. I think when we discuss about the architecting, it is sometimes much easier to go maybe for newly created businesses or for small businesses and try to re-architect that. But when you have industry like pharma, like Roche, where we have 125 years of doing business in a certain way, and we figure out we need to do something else because the way we used to do things in the past might not still serve us the way we do it in the future. This requires a lot of redesigning, not only in the architect of the organization, but in the way we treat business, in the way we develop our business, in the way we plan our business, in the way we develop our people. So we used to have people who have very specific function that were highly professional in this function. They did it great, but at a certain point, I think also for them, the job became less interesting because we are curious humans. We want to do things beyond what we only were trained to do. So I think the challenge we have in an industry like Roche, where we have 100, as I said, 25 years of experience and history, how can we make sure that while having the right people, we still serve their curiosity? How can we provide them the ability to connect beyond their boundaries? If you are located in Greece and you are really curious about supporting other countries, how can you do that without necessarily moving to another country? How can you be connected to global initiatives? And I think the transformation Roche is undergoing now, globally but also locally, becoming more agile, is also to provide the employees the ability to develop themselves. We already announced last year, before the lockdown, that we are giving every employee 20% of their time to do things that are not related to their job. Anything they are curious about, anything they want to develop for themselves, anything they believe they can gain and this can bring back to the community or to the company. All these approaches of how can we empower our teams, how can we bring them to the ability where they feel comfortable to be empowered, because empowerment comes with accountability. And accountability does not feel comfortable all the time. How can we feel comfortable to allow them to do that? All these elements are things that we are busy with locally, but also globally, and we are trying to make this happen also in the local space. I think the current legislation, at some point, did not allow us to do things we wanted to be much more, progressive. We wanted people 2 years ago. We wanted people to work from home, and the law did not allow us to do it. We wanted people to work according to their needs. If you want to work 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours in the evening, you need to have your 6 or 7 or 8 hours of work, but you decide when to do it. I think currently the law does not allow us to do it because you need to be very strict and to report to Organi the working time, etc. So sometimes we try to be more agile, we try to be more towards the employees, but the law does not even allow us, or the legislation or the general setup does not even allow us to go to this direction.
So, yes?
No, please.
Because you said about legislation, and we'll come back to that, of course. You have said some very interesting things, but let me get to Mr. Misailidis at this point, and I would like to ask you, who are more flexible, the strong companies, the traditional companies, or the SMEs? We know that the backbone of the Greek economy are the SMEs, and though they have the tools to go forward, maybe they are not all familiar to these tools.
Mm-hmm. So let me refer a bit on what was happening before, globally, before the pandemic in Europe and in the other places. So we had places who have USA, we have Asia, that the flexible working and the flexible workspaces, the working from home methods were already applicable in many companies, while in Europe we were very reluctant on doing such things. So we have cases, coming back on what you were saying before, in places like Japan or Australia, The fact that they were using the flexible way of working allowed them to grow the employability of A, older people, because they were working from home or closer from home, and B, with women with children. So it's something that we need to think about it also here. And I think Europe overall is a bit reluctant on those things. So anyhow, we're a bit lacking these methods. What we're seeing in Greece is that even on the startups, that normally when you are a startup, you want to put all your capital on the core business. You were thinking that after a couple of good years, it's an accomplishment to have your own large office and so on, which is something that doesn't work globally anymore. So I think that now we are educated by force to be more flexible also on the way of thinking and to understand that we need to focus on the productivity of our companies. To answer your questions, we have two cases. We have the large companies that they will anyhow end up with their own offices, but they will strongly use home working and flexible workspaces like ours. And we have SMEs that I strongly believe that step by step in Greece will see a huge shift and they will understand that they need to outsource things that are not their core business and they are providing them flexibility and protection for the future. So we are not there, but the education is coming step by step.
A cost-effective logic. Let's say we are changing completely the real estate logic in the corporate sector.
Exactly. The whole idea is that the real estate normally is the most unelastic. It's a fixed cost on your P&L. Now you need to think, and it was the only thing that the global corporations were not able to tackle during the pandemic. So we saw huge layoffs globally, but the real estate cost was remaining stable. So there are ways to minimize that effect, to minimize that exposure, and we see that at the end we are now, by force, using them.
Okay, thank you for this. We're coming back, of course. And now, Mr. Petsis, Georgios, I would like to ask you, we were discussing before this session, and you said that you have a very clever and pioneer tool using in your company regarding the arrangement of work time. And of course, the workforce itself is the game changer of its own work time. How does this tool is used?
Let me, first of all, I would like to congratulate Mr. Protopsaltis because he made OAED very cool to me. It's only the first time that I've heard of all the things that you have done, so it is quite cool. So what we're trying to do, and what I heard from Mr. Protopsaltis, which really I really liked, was that the fact that digital literacy is the one thing that we need to go forward as a country and as companies. So what we have built, and we're still building it, is an in-house platform where all employees, because employees may work for 8 hours, but all the other hours, you need to be able to provide them with tools that anything that they want from the company, they will be able to do it not from the PC. They need to be able to do it from their mobile phone. Mm-hmm. So whoever, from these 2,000 employees, it's like an intranet tool using it from your mobile. So if you want to work a particular day, you should be able to do it by mobile. You should be able to get a response the same day from a company that works 24/7. So in that respect, we are pushing forward to make everybody digital literate so that they will be able to, how can I say, enjoy the benefits of mobile phones, as I can say. It's funny because the pandemic forced everybody to move even more forward. So we need to see the glass half full so that we should try and gain things from all this pandemic. So people that didn't used to use a mobile phone, everybody used to have a portable Nokia, the small type. Everybody is trying to, is starting to realize that having a smartphone can really help you in your everyday life.
Georgios, you have also changed the conditions of work in the port. I mean, workers have nothing to do with what they used to be in the past. They have different skills, much more advanced tools. What is going on with this matter?
It's not like we reinvented the world. It's all about how we approach the work at the port of Piraeus. It's all about the people first, and then it's about the profit. Investing in your people does give you the opportunity to think of the profits later on. So we have employed 2,000 employees. Nowadays, we require people to understand English. While 10 years ago, probably this wasn't like a core asset skill, but this is important. Using technology, it is important. Even with gov.gr, you need to be able to do things quickly. There are things that we need to think 10 years ahead, but we need to start now. If I say now to my kids that we're having a mobile phone and everything is nice with Viber and WhatsApp, they will laugh at me. They will like, okay, this is a standard thing. What else do you have for us? So what is good today is not enough for tomorrow. So we need to speed up the process. So that's why I'm really happy from Mr. Protopsaltis taking all these initiatives. We need to go forward and we need to go fast.
We need it, yes, indeed. So let's go to Mr. Azem. Ezat, you said two things that I have noted. The first is that you leave a 20% of work time as not work time for your employees to do everything they need to feel fulfilled. We've understood correctly, during the work time, you give them that 20% to feel more free and energized.
Yeah, so we started this initiative before the lockdown, and we were planning to be much more active in making this happen. But unfortunately, the circumstances changed, and people could not maybe allow or afford this. I think now that we are coming back to work and maybe more, and things are being more open, we will relaunch this initiative. And yes, we will allow people to do whatever they believe, support their curiosity, their interest. I think at the end, if the employee is happy, is taking care of their well-being, the productivity will come. It is not necessarily we need to focus only on trainings related to their expected outcomes. We need to satisfy their needs only for things that are really curious about, they want to know about, even though this is maybe not in their job description, or maybe this is not in their function. But if they are curious and want to know, I believe at the end, this will come back. They will bring this idea. In particularly, that we are also moving to self-organized teams. We are removing totally the hierarchy that we used to have. And the teams basically are managing their tasks, their resources, and their time by themselves. We are here to be a sounding board to make sure that the overall strategy of the organization is being followed. But whatever the team is doing with their resources, their planning, their times, is run and managed by themselves. And we are not there as leadership team to control or command there. So I think you cannot make only one change. You need to make many things to happen simultaneously if you really want to get to the expected, desired outcome at the end.
So you're talking about a different decision-making model with more accountability, but as I understand it, this actually means that there is huge trust from head to base, a place for initiative, and of course, if we talk for more responsibility, we talk about higher salaries. Is that correct?
So the following is the right thing, right? So we expect people to take accountability. Accountability means you think about the enterprise, not necessarily about your silo, not necessarily your function. When you make prioritization, we expect everybody to have the prioritization based on the vision of the company, not based on the product or on the indication or in the specific service we're providing. We need everyone to see the whole organization all the time and not the specific small function. So this means, yes, more accountability, and people not always feel comfortable with accountability, and we need to support that. We need to encourage that. This also means how can we measure performance from now going on? The ways we used to have it in the past, where we used to have very defined objective by the line manager and have half a year discussion or 1 year discussion, are not applicable anymore. We need the team to make the performance for themselves. They need to trust each other. We need to trust them as well. This takes time because this, on the other hand, requires a lot of transparency that we are not used to many times. Extreme transparency for everything we do, for every consideration we make. And this requires two-way communication. Yes, it requires a lot of communication, a lot of trust. And the way we are moving forward, also with having more accountability, I think it also means that we are rewarding the people in a different way. If we are used to reward them only on defined objective, now we also need to reward for the right behaviors, for the right actions, for the right thinking, for the right mindset. These are also things that we are incorporating in the way we incentivize our people. Otherwise, we cannot encourage them to move to this way of working or this way of thinking. So all in all, I think, yes, we expect more, and we are also giving more in return.
Okay, that's great. We have less than 5 minutes, and of course I want to ask all of you, a new working law is already ready to be revealed, and of course we have the great issue of the arrangement of the work time. The reality in the labor market is existing, people know it, but the law now comes to change things, and not everybody is ready to accept it and adjust to that. So with everything that we know, we don't know everything yet. Mr. Governor, Spiros, what should we say about the new reality regarding the work time?
Well, I'm an optimist by nature, and so I think that, people have the capacity to adapt to the new circumstances and all the global trends that are happening and are affecting our lives in so many ways. I really believe in incentives. I think that people respond to incentives, and I think that it's going to be up to all the companies, all the employers, to figure out the best ways to get the most out of their employees and give them the best possible deal, in quotation marks, that they can get. Because as I heard from all the speakers today, and it's true, you can't have a successful enterprise without happy and fulfilled employees. You can't have employees without businesses and businesses without employees. It's simple as that. So I believe that we're going to adapt. We're going to find new ways, as we did during the pandemic. I mean, in 14 months, everybody adapted to a whole new reality. I think that we're going to continue down that path. And at the end of the day, we need to be nimble, we need to be agile, we need to be flexible, and not put ourselves and box ourselves into a specific corner and say, I can't move from here, this is it. So as long as we're open and we're willing to work together and collaborate, I think we're going to find a way forward and we're going to find a new balance.
Amazing. Thank you for that. And about the same issue, of course, this combines perfectly with the new logic in the workspace, a more flexible workspace for a different arrangement of work time.
Look, the answer is very simple. The last 12 and so months, 50% of the world was working from their home. Did we know how many hours they were working? I don't think so. So at the end, it's a matter of incentivize people. It's a matter of giving them something that they want to do, and that's it. So it doesn't matter if it's 8 hours, 6 hours, or 12 hours. You need to have happy employees, and obviously, from where they are working, either it is closer to their home through a flexible workspace solution, or even from their home, it makes a huge impact on their work-life balance. So it makes them more incentivized, and for sure they can do things better. So it's not a matter of hours, it's a matter of incentivize the people.
Thank you very much. And about you, Mr. Petsis, Georgios?
As a professional, I follow the news. I haven't seen it yet. We need to see the law and see what exactly does it entail.
Of course.
We don't think it will change the way we work at the Port of Piraeus.
Because you work 24/7.
Exactly. So we don't need to work overtime because there's always another group of 500 employees getting on the shift. But it is important because I do understand that as an employee as well, I understand what is the feeling of employees listening to that and how are you going to subtract overtime hours with real hours. So I would probably say that this thing will probably work better if employees are certain that the government puts in there all those necessary checks, because there are, of course, good companies, but there are companies which are not so good. So as long as the framework is strict so that bad employees, bad companies don't make use of that in a bad way, I think I'm looking at it as a positive thing.
Thank you very much. And let's finish with Ezat on the same issue, please.
Yeah, so I think it's beyond flexible working hours. It's about the well-being of our employees. So yeah, working times is one of them, but there are many other elements, even the psychological part, the mental part, the quality time you need to spend with your family. If you're still with your family and your mind is busy with work, I am not sure this is what we are aiming for. We want our employees really to take care of their well-being. When it comes to the law itself, I think laws are important to provide the minimal requirements. But please don't stop those who want to be even better with their employees, right? So put the minimum requirements and allow for more development to come by those who are really trying to bring maybe the most advanced or well-being and taking care of their employees.
Thank you, Ezat. We are right on time. Thank you, gentlemen, very much for this conversation. Thank you at the team of the Delphi Economic Forum. We will be talking back soon.